The Department of Justice says 30-year-old Miramar Martinez and 21-year-old Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz used their cars to block federal agent vehicles and rammed into them.
America, we've got absolute chaos unfolding in Chicago, and it perfectly illustrates everything that's wrong with our current political climate. A woman literally weaponized her vehicle and rammed it into ICE officers just trying to do their job, removing illegals who weren't supposed to be here in the first place. Now she's in critical condition after being shot by federal agents, and the violence is escalating by the hour.
Violence escalating between protesters and ICE agents here. A woman was shot after she allegedly attempted to hit federal officers with her car. Then in Broadview, Illinois, that's about a half hour west of the city, the Department of Homeland Security is reporting that law enforcement officers were rammed by vehicles and boxed in by 10 cars.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This situation perfectly illustrates how backwards our priorities have become as a society. We're literally watching people commit felonies with deadly weapons to protect individuals who broke federal law by being here illegally. Let me break down exactly what happened on Chicago's southwest side. According to the Department of Homeland Security, Border Patrol agents were conducting routine operations near 39th when they suddenly were attacked by multiple vehicles.
ICE agents shot and injured a woman they say was armed at the southwest side of the city after federal officials say they were rammed by vehicles and boxed in by 10 cars. DHS says the incident unfolded when agents were patrolling the Chicago suburb of Broadview, alleging law enforcement were forced to deploy their weapons and fire defensive shots.
This wasn't some random encounter. The woman who attacked these agents was already on a Customs and Border Protection bulletin for allegedly docking agents online. Think about that for a second. She was already targeting federal law enforcement officers by publishing their personal information and putting their families at risk.
2 people were charged in federal court today after border agents claimed they rammed and blocked their vehicle on the southwest side yesterday, leading to a shooting. 30-year-old Miramar Martinez and 21-year-old Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz face charges of assaulting, impeding, and interfering with law enforcement.
The federal complaint shows damages to all 3 vehicles involved. When the Border Patrol agent couldn't move his vehicle because he was boxed in, he fired 5 shots at Martinez. She drove off and was later taken to the hospital in critical condition. This is what happens when political rhetoric convinces people that federal law enforcement officers are the enemy. Now, here's what really gets me about this whole situation, and this is where the hypocrisy becomes absolutely staggering. For years, I'm talking about years, Chicago has been plagued with gang violence, carjackings, murders, and complete lawlessness. Children can't walk to school safely. Families are getting terrorized in their own neighborhoods. The streets are controlled by criminals. But did we see massive protests demanding action? Did we see community organizations mobilizing to demand better leadership? Did anyone chain themselves to City Hall demanding that the mayor and governor actually protect law-abiding citizens? No, absolutely not.
Protesters shouting at federal agents near 35th in California in Chicago's Brighton Park neighborhood Saturday. The woman came in bleeding profusely. Several workers and a customer say they tried to stop the bleeding and called 911. As federal agents investigated the crowd across the road.
But the moment that federal agents start removing people who shouldn't be here legally, people who are draining resources that should go to American citizens, suddenly everyone has a voice. Suddenly everyone's ready to fight. This is the hill they choose to die on. Listen to how they're describing this situation. They're using language like kidnapped to describe legal arrests. They're talking about fathers being taken from school districts, as if these people had some inherent right to be here.
We're here today because we don't know what else to do. I mean, what's happening in this country is insane. I heard just this morning, first thing, of a father of a student in my children's school district being kidnapped by ICE and taken. I don't know all the details, but this is affecting communities.
Kidnapped by ICE. Think about that language. This is pure emotional manipulation designed to make you forget that we're talking about people who violated federal immigration law. This is what happens when communities get emotionally attached to people who were never supposed to be integrated into their schools and neighborhoods in the first place. Now let's talk about the complete failure of leadership we're witnessing. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is throwing an absolute tantrum because President Trump is federalizing 300 National Guard troops to protect ICE agents. agents.
Illinois Governor Pritzker announcing President Trump intends to federalize 300 members of the state's National Guard, posting about the Trump administration. It is absolutely outrageous and un-American to demand a governor send military troops within our own borders and against our will.
Think about how insane that is. The governor is more upset about federal agents enforcing immigration law than he is about the violence and chaos in his own state. Trump gave him a choice. Call up your troops to maintain order or we will. Pritzker chose to enable the chaos instead of protecting federal law enforcement officers who are just trying to do their job.
Federal agents, ICE, HSI, are officers. They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation.
While other states like Tennessee are welcoming federal assistance to clean up their streets, Chicago and Illinois are fighting tooth and nail to protect people who shouldn't be here. Meanwhile, other communities are seeing the benefit from actual law enforcement. Memphis is working with federal agents from the DEA, ATF, and FBI to tackle crime. But Chicago would rather protect illegal immigrants than protect their own citizens. Let me explain exactly how this emotional manipulation works, because it's important that you understand what's happening here. These communities got emotionally attached to people who were never supposed to be integrated into schools and neighborhoods in the first place. The previous administration flooded these areas with illegal immigrants instead of investing in American citizens who were struggling there. Now, after years of this forced integration, when law enforcement comes to enforce the actual law, it feels personal.
Elizabeth Ruiz says her son, a U.S. citizen, was driving to pick up friends in before he was detained.
He called me and said immigration was there. There was a lot of beeping. There was a lot of things going on. I said, let's get the hell out of here. When one of the immigration officers just grabbed him from his arm viciously and arrested him.
But feelings don't change legal status. And here's what's really disturbing. This woman was so convinced by political rhetoric that she was willing to commit a felony with a deadly weapon. She's likely going to face serious prison time, while the politicians who filled her head with this nonsense won't lift a finger to help her. The ICE agents have already removed dozens of weapons and arrested over 1,000 illegal immigrants in their operations. As I said it before, and I'll say it again, these aren't people looking for a better life. Many of them are armed and dangerous individuals who pose a direct threat to American communities.
According to the Department of Homeland Security, Border Patrol agents were near 39th and Kedzie when they were rammed by vehicles and boxed in by 10 cars. When agents got out, they say an armed U.S. citizen, who sources say is a CCL holder, tried to run them over, forcing the officers to fire.
But instead of celebrating removal of weapons and criminals from their neighborhoods, these protesters are treating law enforcement like the enemy. This is what happens when you let politics override reality for too long. While everyone's focused on protecting people who broke the law to get here, who's advocating for the American citizens whose resources have been diverted? Who's fighting for the kids in these communities who can't get proper funding for their schools because the money is going to support illegal immigrants?
And I reached out to Chicago Public Schools. That they confirmed to me that there were federal law enforcement immigration officers near an elementary school in Logan Square neighborhood just yesterday. And they continue to say that the safest place for students and staff is still at school.
Think about this. They're more concerned about ICE agents being near schools than they are about gang violence that has plagued Chicago schools for decades. They're more worried about federal agents enforcing immigration law than they are about the children who've been shot walking to and from school. Who's protesting for the families who've been victims of crimes committed by people who should have been deported years ago? Where are the massive demonstrations demanding justice for American citizens who've been killed, raped, or robbed by illegal immigrants? The same Democratic politicians who are now calling this quote-unquote outrageous used to say the exact same things Republicans are saying today. Obama, Biden, Pelosi, they all used to talk about the importance of borders and legal immigration. But now that it's politically convenient, they've completely flipped. This Chicago situation is everything wrong with our political climate. We've prioritized the feelings of lawbreakers over safety of law-abiding citizens. We've allowed emotional manipulation to override common sense and legal reality.
The White House telling ABC News the troops are necessary to protect federal officers and assets, and that Trump won't won't, quote, turn a blind eye to the lawlessness plaguing American cities.
President Trump is doing exactly what he promised: enforce immigration law and protect American communities. If local and state leaders won't cooperate, he'll just go around them. That's not authoritarianism, that's leadership. The chaos in Chicago isn't happening because ICE enforcement. It's happening because local leadership has failed so spectacularly that people don't even understand right from wrong anymore. They've been conditioned to see law enforcement as the enemy and lawbreakers as victims. We are watching history unfold, and some people are choosing to be on the wrong side of it. This isn't about compassion or humanity. This is about the rule of law and whether you're going to be a nation with borders or not. America, this is what happens when you let politics override reality for too long. Eventually, reality comes a-knocking, and it doesn't care about your feelings. The woman who rammed those ICE agents is now fighting for her life in a hospital bed. The politicians who filled her head with anti-law enforcement rhetoric are nowhere to be found. She made a choice to commit a violent felony and now is facing the consequences. Meanwhile, President Trump is delivering on his promises to enforce our immigration laws and protect American communities. The scenes we're seeing in Chicago might be chaotic, but they're absolutely necessary. Every person being arrested had the opportunity to leave voluntarily. They chose to stay and break our laws. This is what real immigration enforcement looks like. After 4 years of Biden's open border policies that allowed millions of unvetted illegal aliens into our country, we finally have an administration that's serious about the rule of law. The protesters can chant and scream all they want, but the American people spoke loud and clear in November. We want our immigration laws enforced. We want our borders secure, and we want people who entered our country illegally to face real consequences. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.